Hey everyone, welcome to Anime Dreams. Today, we're diving into an intriguing what-if scenario. What if Naruko had Susanoo? Before we jump in, a quick disclaimer, the content on this channel is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage used, and all rights go to their respective creators and copyright holders. With that out of the way, let's get started. A figure wearing a white mask with black markings and a flowing black cloak moves steadily toward the cave's exit. Obito-kun, remember to bring the newborn Uchiha back with you after completing my request, said the man, now revealed as Obito, turning to face his mentor, Madara Uchiha. Madara, dressed entirely in black, was aging and growing weaker. Hi, Madara-sensei, Obito replied and departed toward his destination, the village hidden in the leaves. 12 hours later. Obito reappeared before Madara, appearing through a swirling vortex. Madara opened his eyes, examining his apprentice. Obito's mask was slightly damaged, and his cloak bore signs of wear, yet in his hands he held a small bundle. "Where is the Kyuubi?" Madara asked, scanning his student carefully. Obito lowered his gaze in disappointment. The fourth Hokage proved too strong. Kushina Uzumaki stabilized the Kyuubi with her chakra chains, and Minato sealed the Kyuubi's yin and yang energy into his twin daughters. However, I did manage to bring this child. The baby's parents were unable to protect her during the Kyuubi's attack, and I found her in a crib with the name Naruko written on it. She is an Uchiha, Obito explained, hoping the last part would satisfy Madara. After a brief silence, Madara said, "Give me the child." Obito handed Naruko over without hesitation. Naruko, curious and rubbing her eyes, blinked at Madara, who stared back. After a long moment, Naruko let out a small whimper. "Obito, care for her for now and bring her to me when she is ready," Madara instructed. "Sensei, I have responsibilities to attend to for your plan," Obito replied. Madara sighed, knowing his apprentice spoke the truth. "Bring her food and the essentials she will need. Also, inform Zetsu that I require assistance for some tasks," Madara said. 10 years later. In a dimly lit cave, three figures gathered. Two of them stood over the eldest of the group. Obito had aged little, still wearing a black cloak with red clouds. His new mask, patterned with orange swirls, allowed him to see through a single eye. Madara appeared weaker than ever, his condition having worsened over the past decade. Naruko, now a young girl standing at 5 feet 5 inches with striking black hair and silvery black eyes, had grown remarkably. She wore a white cloak over Onbu-style pants, her presence calm yet confident. Madara cleared his throat weakly. "I suppose time has finally caught up with me. Obito, continue the plans we discussed. Naruko, assist when Obito requests it." Naruko nodded silently. "Remember all that I have taught you," Madara said slowly, his voice fading with each word. With that, Madara passed peacefully. Naruko closed her eyes and hummed softly while Obito called for Zetsu to preserve Madara's body. Obito observed Naruko's solemn expression. After a moment, he spoke, "Naruko, it is time. We must meet the other Akatsuki members." Naruko looked up, her gaze steady. "I decide my own path, Obito." She began walking away from the cave. Obito, frustrated, moved to intervene, but just as Naruko reached the exit, a harmless puff of smoke erupted from behind, a diversion she had created. "Zetsu, locate Naruko and report on her actions. If she does anything that may interfere with our plans, inform me immediately," Obito instructed, noting that Naruko's talents were unlike any other. Naruko sighed, gripping her backpack as memories of her clones and past experiences surfaced. Flashback. A 6-year-old Naruko climbed a waterfall with Madara and Obito observing from above. So far, so good, Naruko thought, carefully placing each step. Suddenly, a small rock tumbled toward her feet. "I was too focused on my footing," she exclaimed. Losing concentration, she nearly slipped. Obito moved to intervene, but Madara held up a hand. "Let her find her own solution. Overcoming this challenge will strengthen her." Naruko, panicked, realized she needed to act. Listening to a mysterious voice in her mind, she formed hand seals. "Wind release, great breakthrough," she shouted. The powerful surge of chakra propelled her back up the waterfall, landing safely at the top. Madara smirked. "Well done, Naruko. You saved yourself and unlocked a new source of power. Rest now, training resumes tomorrow." That night, Naruko lay on the rocky floor, reflecting on the voice that had guided her. Soon, she found herself in a dark, stormy forest, a mental realm where she could train her mind and spirit under the guidance of Asura Otsutsuki, the legendary ancestor of her lineage. Asura, seated cross-legged, opened his eyes. I am Asura Otsutsuki, descendant of Kaguya. And you are? Naruko Uchiha, she replied, awed yet composed. I have come to guide you. As a descendant of both Senju and Uchiha, your potential is immense. I will teach you to harness your abilities and forge meaningful bonds, even with descendants of Indra, Asura explained. Naruko listened intently, determination in her eyes. Your task is to cultivate strength and understanding, Naruko. Begin with your water climbing exercise. Walk upon it without hesitation. Only then will you be ready for greater challenges, Asura instructed. Naruko nodded, realizing that her journey, though filled with trials, was hers to master. Naruko smiled at the memory, then frowned. She was already beginning to miss her uncle Madara. I suppose I'll follow wherever the wind leads me, Naruko said, giving a playful grin at the amused glance from her ancestor, Asura. It's quite ironic, Asura remarked, that tonight marks both the beginning of Naruko Uchiha's journey and your own birthday. Naruko nearly doubled over, realizing she had forgotten it was her special day. Thanks for reminding me, Naruko sighed, though I don't suppose there's any cake waiting. Birthdays had never been particularly grand since Madara's passing, though when he was alive, Naruko would often learn a new technique on each birthday. I suppose my birthday gift this year is having a quiet day, Naruko joked lightly, earning a chuckle from Asura. Asura smiled, seizing the opportunity to offer a suggestion. Cheer up. Perhaps this birthday you could embark on an adventure, a journey I think you would truly enjoy. Naruko paused at the thought of a new adventure. And what might that be? She asked. After a thoughtful pause, Asura spoke. You may have heard that some members of the Senju clan founded the Uzumaki clan, which settled near the Land of Waves in a place called the Village Hidden by Whirling Tides. I would like to see my Uzumaki descendants' village, even if time has changed it. Naruko admired Asura's devotion to family. All right, let's go, Naruko exclaimed, leaping gracefully from branch to branch. The journey to the Land of Waves took considerable time, as this was her first expedition so far from home. Asura could not provide precise directions, too much had changed since his era, but together they asked travelers along the way. Eventually, they arrived at a slightly crooked sign declaring, "Welcome to the Land of Waves." Naruko raised an eyebrow at the weathered appearance and stepped into the village. I'm famished, Naruko admitted as her stomach grumbled. She checked her pockets and retrieved a wallet filled with money Obito had found during an earlier adventure. Perfect, enough to get by for a while. The village was in rough shape, shops appeared damaged, and a large golden statue of a plump figure stood in the town square. It seems the village is under the control of a wealthy individual, Asura observed. I've seen similar displays in my travels with my family. Maybe I could test my skills and help out, Naruko mused, imagining the challenge of facing formidable opponents hired by such a prosperous figure. Suddenly, a loud shout of distress echoed through the streets. Naruko instinctively followed the voice and arrived at a scene involving two ninja from the village hidden by the mist. They appeared to be twins who worked seamlessly together, equipped with gauntlets, clawed weapons, and chain-like tools. In their grasp was a young woman with dark blue hair and black eyes, wearing a pink shirt with red trim and a long blue skirt. Rescue her, Asura urged. Naruko hesitated only briefly before stepping forward. What are you doing with her? Naruko demanded, her voice resolute. The twins paused, underestimating Naruko as a young Uchiha. The woman looked at Naruko with hope in her eyes. Using her agility and skill, Naruko disarmed and neutralized the twin threats, ensuring the woman could be safe without anyone being seriously harmed. Breathing heavily, Naruko approached the woman, kneeling to help her steady herself. Thank you for helping me, the woman said softly, introducing herself as Tsunami. Are you all right? Naruko asked, concern in her voice. I'm fine, Tsunami replied. They were only trying to intimidate, not truly harm anyone. Naruko nodded, feeling a strong sense of moral responsibility. The Uchiha way was never to demean or endanger the innocent. Tell me where you live, and I'll escort you, Naruko offered. Tsunami led her through the village, explaining its current condition, and Naruko absorbed every detail. They arrived at her home, which was surprisingly well kept, tucked away from the main streets. Keiza, Tsunami's husband, stepped outside, followed by their young son, Inari, and her grandfather, Tazuna. Naruko introduced herself, and the family expressed heartfelt gratitude for her assistance. That evening, they invited Naruko into their home, where they shared a warm meal together. Keiza then asked, with earnest eyes, Naruko, I know I shouldn't ask for more, but could you help protect our village from Gato and his followers? Naruko nodded thoughtfully. I'll help. Tomorrow, I'll accompany you to the bridge and ensure the workers' safety. That night, she gathered as much intelligence about the village as possible. The next morning, Naruko perched on the rooftop, observing the surroundings. Hearing activity below, she silently moved inside in a cloud of shadows, revealing her impressive agility. Inari's eyes sparkled in awe at her abilities. Keiza, Naruko advised, please stay here today. I sense a significant presence near the bridge, and it's not friendly. I want to make sure no one gets caught in the conflict. Keiza and Tazuna nodded, relieved to hear the plan. Don't worry about the bridge, Keiza reassured her. The workers have the day off today. With a confident smile, Naruko left, following the chakra signature Asura had detected. She arrived at the bridge to find a formidable opponent waiting, a tall, muscular figure standing in the water beneath, the notorious Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist. Naruko's eyes gleamed with excitement. The challenge ahead promised to test every skill she had cultivated. She looked toward Zabuza's side and noticed a teenager, perhaps 3 to 5 years older than herself. The teen had long black hair, pale skin, and large, dark brown eyes. She was slender and a bit short for her age. Her outfit consisted of the standard Kirigakure pinstriped uniform that stopped at the knees, layered with a green haori trimmed in white. Around her waist was a brown sash with a fringed trail wrapped twice. This was Haku, Zabuza's trusted partner. Wow! I didn't expect Gato to hire such skilled ninja, Naruko said, still in awe. Zabuza and Haku turned to face her. Zabuza's voice was firm. Are you a ninja? If so, were you the one who handled the Dioman brothers? Naruko straightened, pride gleaming in her eyes. Yes, that was me, she stated confidently. And why is that? Zabuza asked, intrigued. Because Wave Village is under my protection now. Please leave, or you'll face the strength of Naruko Uchiha, she declared, her tone steady. Zabuza's eyes glimmered beneath his mask, and a faint smile appeared. Haku and I would be interested to see the abilities of someone like you, he said calmly. A thick mist began to swirl around the bridge. Naruko activated her Sharingan and immediately realized that the mist was infused with chakra. An intense tension filled the air, and she felt the need to remain fully alert. Chakra sensed. Proceed with caution, Asura's voice reminded her internally. Though Asura's powers were not as strong as before, the guidance was still invaluable. Suddenly, the mist shifted. Naruko quickly drew a kunai from her pouch, ready to defend herself. Zabuza's enormous sword swung toward her kunai, forcing her to channel chakra into the weapon to hold it steady. Today, you will understand why I am called the Demon of the Mist, Zabuza's dark voice echoed as he pressed forward. Stay focused, Naruko, Asura warned. A single lapse could allow them to overpower you. Just as the massive sword pressed down, Asura shouted urgently, Naruko, behind you. Oh no. I almost forgot about Haku. Naruko thought, quickly spinning to prepare for Haku's next move. Naruko's Sharingan flared brilliantly as she turned, spotting Haku appearing behind her, holding a long ice needle. Time seemed to stretch, one of the Sharingan's unique abilities allowing her to perceive rapid movements in detail. You are standing on the water. Release chakra from your feet immediately, Asura's voice instructed within Naruko's mind. Recognizing the wisdom in the guidance, Naruko followed the advice, letting herself sink slightly through the water, just as Haku's ice needle collided with Zabuza's sword. Focusing, Naruko channeled chakra into her feet, propelling herself across the water as if ascending a staircase. She soon reached the surface, drawing a deep, steadying breath. Zabuza's eyes narrowed at the sight of Naruko's Sharingan. So, you are an Uchiha. I see now that you were truthful about your lineage, he said, the mist beginning to swirl around them once more as Zabuza and Haku slipped from view. A faint chuckle echoed from the mist. Kiri once had a system that tested academy graduates in rigorous challenges, naming the most skilled as candidates for the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. After I, Zabuza Momochi, then not yet a student, excelled in these trials, the system was altered, Zabuza recalled. Naruko, creating multiple shadow clones, spread them strategically across the field. That is why I am called the Demon of the Mist, Zabuza declared as his sword cut through the fog, aiming toward Naruko. Naruko grinned slightly, crouching and performing the hand seals for a jutsu. Fire release, flame whirlwind. Flames erupted around her, spiraling toward Zabuza. A sharp splash revealed it was only a clone. Demonic mirroring ice crystals. A voice called behind her. Naruko had already sensed Haku's chakra, it was distinctly different from Zabuza's. The mist, shaped by Zabuza's energy, made him difficult to detect. Time to clear this mist, Naruko thought, clasping her hands together and leaping into the air. Wind release, great breakthrough. A gust dispersed the mist. Landing gracefully on the water, she noticed herself surrounded by a dome of reflective ice mirrors, a jutsu Haku had invoked. Each mirror displayed an image of Haku. Naruko frowned, evaluating the challenge. Finish her, Haku, Zabuza's voice echoed from beyond the mirrors. 1,000 flying water needles, Haku announced, and thousands of glimmering ice needles formed from water particles in the air, racing toward Naruko. Fire release, great fire annihilation, Naruko exclaimed, spinning gracefully to disperse the needles. One needle grazed her side, causing discomfort but nothing life-threatening. She removed it carefully, mindful of the injury. This dome is tricky, but there's a way, Naruko reflected. Channeling chakra into her fist, she struck one of the mirrors, sending a wave of lightning through it. The interconnected mirrors shivered and shattered, Haku startled by the sudden surge. Step back, Haku. I'll handle this, Zabuza commanded, rushing forward. Yet when he began performing hand seals, he paused, recognizing Naruko executing identical movements. So this is the Sharingan's power, capable of mirroring jutsus, Zabuza muttered, astonished. Water release, water dragon bullet. Naruko called, summoning a majestic water dragon that surged toward Zabuza, forcing him to retreat. Haku rushed forward, concerned for Zabuza. Naruko seized the opportunity to create several shadow clones, coordinating their movements strategically. Flames and water techniques collided in a dazzling display of light and energy, yet Naruko remained calm, analyzing each movement. Her clone captured Haku, positioning a kunai defensively while keeping her safe. Your move, Naruko said confidently, a faint smile on her face. Zabuza, trapped briefly by Naruko's water technique, asked weakly, how did you copy the jutsu? When you created the water dragon, I noticed subtle differences. Observing the clone, I recorded the sequence, Naruko explained. Despite her previous injury, her focus remained unbroken. Haku, serene and composed, responded softly, did you notice I was a clone? Another ice mirror appeared, but Naruko anticipated the move, responding with precision. Through strategy and observation, Naruko overcame the mirrored illusions, demonstrating her quick thinking and control over chakra. Finally, she and her clones ensured Zabuza and Haku were safely subdued. Naruko honored their courage and respected the requests they made in their final moments, arranging them carefully before departing. Later, Naruko, feeling the lingering effects of her earlier wound, regained consciousness in a safe space provided by Keiza's household. After resting and receiving care, she set out to check the village, observing the aftermath of her encounter. Villagers were relieved and grateful, their expressions brightening at her presence. I sense chakra levels that are unusual, Asura warned, alerting Naruko to remain vigilant. Naruko's eyebrows lifted in surprise. Bandits? She murmured, opening her eyes to see 10 large boats approaching, each filled with intruders, one large man alone on a small boat, and a few others with big cannons on another. The large man grinned as he spotted the bridge and the frightened villagers. I see Keiza is still around. Seems like trusting a ninja for this task wasn't the best idea, he said with a sly smile. Keiza stood tall, unshaken by the approaching men. Your control over this village ends today, she declared firmly. Seeing Keiza ready to face the situation, Naruko stepped forward with confidence. You and what army? The man asked, laughing. Naruko quietly approached Keiza and gently placed her hands on her shoulders. Keiza flinched for a moment before recognizing Naruko. Take a moment, and help everyone in the village understand that they are safe now, Naruko said. Then, turning her attention to the man, she added, this army. The man looked around, confused, before doubling over with laughter. What's this? A young ninja thinks she can stop me? He jeered, signaling his companions to fire their cannons. Before the men could act, Naruko leapt into position, forming a sequence of hand signs. She slammed her hands onto the water and shouted, water release, water vortex. A powerful whirlpool opened, drawing the boats toward it. Some of the intruders tried to escape, but they were unable to overcome the force of the water. Not stopping there, Naruko leapt into the air and performed another technique. Fire release, great fireball. A massive fireball flew toward the center of the vortex, scattering the intruders' forces. Soon, the whirlpool calmed, leaving several objects floating on the water's surface. That was an impressive combination of water and fire techniques, Asura praised. They shouldn't have underestimated an Uchiha, Naruko said with pride. Asura muttered something about the strong confidence of Uchiha, shaking his head. That evening, the villagers celebrated. They visited the abandoned camps, reclaiming lost belongings and reconnecting with family and friends. The younger children were especially curious, following Naruko around with endless questions about the life of a ninja. They really look up to you, Asura chuckled, watching Naruko patiently answer question after question. 1 week later. Naruko had spent a full week in the land of waves, using the time to prepare numerous scrolls. She wrote down basic chakra exercises and simple, practical techniques, planning to give them to Inari before she left. She helped Inari awaken his chakra and demonstrated some essential practices, finally presenting the scrolls to him. The entire village gathered to bid farewell. Naruko said her goodbyes to Keiza and her family. With Naruko's help, the bridge had been completed, and the village's troubles were behind them. Wait, what should we name the bridge? Someone from the crowd shouted. Suggestions flew from all directions until one voice rose above the rest. How about the Great Naruko Bridge? The speaker blushed as all eyes turned to her. The villagers murmured in agreement, realizing that without Naruko, the bridge might never have existed. Then it's settled, Keiza exclaimed excitedly. Naruko smiled at the thought of a bridge named after her. She waved one hand to the crowd without looking back and continued on her journey. Next stop, Uzushiogakur, Naruko thought, following Asura's directions. After a while, Naruko stopped and threw a kunai into a tree, revealing an unusual figure. A person emerged, their upper body enclosed in a shell-like structure, with one half black and the other white, wearing a long cloak adorned with red clouds. Naruko recognized the figure as Zetsu, one of Madara's creations. Zetsu, why are you following me? Naruko asked, standing her ground. Obito instructed me to observe you and ensure you do not interfere with Akatsuki's plans, the figure explained, its two halves speaking in turns. Naruko maintained a calm expression, revealing no fear. Unless you're looking for a challenge, I suggest you stop, Naruko warned, carefully assessing the figure's abilities. My ability to sense your chakra serves a purpose, Zetsu replied. Naruko's curiosity piqued. What purpose? Zetsu chuckled faintly. I will explain, but first, listen carefully. On the night you were taken from Konoha, your brother Shisui Uchiha saved a young girl, now 11, named Sarin, your twin sister. Obito chose not to take her because he was exhausted from his battle with Minato Namikaze. Shisui lived for several more years, aiding Itachi and defending against Sin Uchiha, a powerful Uchiha. Shisui ultimately perished during the conflict, which allowed Itachi to unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan and use Amaterasu to protect others, though Sin escaped with Kamui. Naruko absorbed the information, feeling a mix of shock and determination. Tell me about my parents, she commanded. Zetsu hesitated, then spoke. Your mother was Naori Uchiha, and your father was Atama Senju. He was adopted by Uchiha civilians and became Tami Uchiha. Your father's heritage did not define his skill, and your mother, though gifted, perished during the Kyuubi attack. Naruko's thoughts raced as Zetsu slowly sank into the ground, laughing faintly. I shared this for a reason. I won't be watching you for Obito, but I advise caution regarding your sister, Sarin. She is precious, and I would not want harm to come to her. Naruko clenched her fists, her determination solidifying. I will protect her, she thought. Asura's voice echoed in her mind. Do not underestimate them, but trust in your skills. Uzushiogakur awaits, once there, plan carefully. Naruko continued toward Uzushiogakur, remembering her first encounter with pain. Flashback. At 8 years old, Naruko traveled with Obito and Zetsu to Amigakure, the village hidden by the rain. Their goal was to join Akatsuki, a group led by a powerful Rinnegan user. Obito stopped, using Kamui to transport the three of them into a dimly lit room. Dark figures occupied the room, with two standing prominently at the entrance. The first figure was Pain, with spiky orange hair, the Rinnegan, and several facial piercings. She wore an Akatsuki cloak and a headband marked with a slash symbol of Amigakure. The second was Konan, a tall woman with short blue hair, amber eyes, and a paper flower in her hair. She also wore the Akatsuki cloak. Who is the child? Pain asked Obito. This is Naruko Uchiha, Obito replied. She is not yet important. Naruko met Pain's gaze, keeping her Sharingan active. Observing the quiet strength of these leaders, she knew this journey would shape her future as a ninja. Pain shifted her gaze from Naruko and turned her attention to Obito. I am willing to follow this plan now, since it seems we share the same vision for the future. But remember, I remain the leader here, though I choose to listen to you, she said. Obito's eyes narrowed as he raised a hand toward the wall behind Naruko. If you break my trust, there will be consequences. The wall behind Naruko cracked and tumbled, forcing her to leap aside to avoid the falling debris. Obito merely nodded, unwilling to engage in a confrontation with Pain. He placed a hand on Naruko's shoulder, and together they were enveloped in Obito's kamui. That night, after a training session with Madara, Naruko reflected on what she had learned. Because I want to, she whispered softly. She admired how Pain had asserted herself in front of Obito. The Rinnegan is an extraordinary dojutsu, my father mastered it, Asura remarked in Naruko's mind with pride. Rinnegan, Naruko whispered again, remembering how effortlessly Pain had shattered the wall behind her. End of flashback. Which is more powerful, the Rinnegan or the Mangekyo Sharingan? Naruko asked Asura. That's hard to say, Asura replied thoughtfully. It really depends on the skill of the user. Naruko was approaching a village, judging by its size. Several buildings were damaged, but one central structure remained mostly intact, bearing a swirl painted on its side. The village seems to have been constructed with multiple high-rise buildings, Asura observed, a twinge of sadness in his voice for the lives of his descendants. A wide river ran through the village, with bridges now in ruins. The surrounding land was dotted with steep hills. Where should I go next? This was your idea, Naruko asked. Perhaps the large building in the center? It's damaged, but still stands, Asura suggested. Naruko didn't reply but sprinted toward the building, entering through its broken doors. She searched for hours, discovering that this was the Cage Tower. Only one room remained unexplored, the Cage's office. Asura explained that the building had survived because the invading ninjas had moved quickly, not giving Konoha's defenders time to intervene. Inside, Naruko found no bodies. Asura explained that the villagers had probably honored the fallen with a proper ceremony. The dusty office contained a disc, a few chairs, and locked cabinets. Using her chakra, Naruko opened them and discovered outfits for ninjas of different ranks, several jutsu scrolls, and a sword. I'm not really a sword fighter, Naruko murmured. Keep it, and find someone to teach you, Asura instructed firmly. After a short discussion, Naruko accepted Asura's advice. The sword was white with a black handle, the sheath black with seals that seemed designed to absorb chakra. She examined the Cage outfit, noticing its similarity to Asura's own attire. With pride, Asura observed her sense of style. Naruko changed into the Cage outfit, a white kimono tied with a black sash. She strapped the sword to her back and donned a blank headband. Sealing the scrolls into a single pouch on her right hip, she glanced in the mirror and smiled at her new appearance. Naruko, would you like to stay here and train? We can restore the village while doing so, Asura suggested. I'd like that. It will also give me a chance to learn more about the place Grandma Mito came from, Naruko replied, gazing out at the village from the Cage Tower. Well, I hope you enjoy fish, Asura added with a hint of humor. We'll work on the jutsus in the scrolls and improve your chakra control, Asura continued. With your Senju and Uzumaki heritage, your chakra is extraordinary. It will be challenging to master it perfectly, but your ancestry will help. I'll guide you as best as I can, and when you're ready, I will teach you to harness your Yang chakra and other inherited abilities. Naruko groaned at having to wait. She admired Asura's strength and was eager to learn from him. Come on, Asura. I can handle it now. She protested. I will not allow you to rush, Asura said gently. You must grow through hard work. When the time is right, I will share my knowledge. Naruko nodded, understanding the wisdom in his words. She opened a window and leapt out, running through the village to find a suitable place to train. One day, I will meet you, Sarin-chan, she promised, activating her Sharingan. Dear YouTube family. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it engaging. Your support means a lot. Please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more from Anime Dreams. Until next time. Anime Dreams.